I was way too early.
No, I'm sure I was off in there too. It's okay. We're never in sync anyways.
We've never been in sync. Not in 40 sessions. This is episode 40. It's awesome.
Big 4-0.
Yeah. And we've got a surprise host guest. And it's been awesome so far. This is our second guest on the podcast, another good friend of me and Dave. And this is Coach Berger, Coach Freiburger. We just talked about how I was going to mess this up. But we've known each other a long time. We go back, and it's been a treat. It's been a nice kind of full circle moment for all of us. Way back when, this is going back to, I think, 2018 was our internship together at Don Scoff Strength Conditioning, and Dave was our head coach. Dave was our intern. What was the actual title that you had? Intern and
coach. I don't even think they put intern in my title. Intern anything in my title. It was just coach, and they said, go work with Dave. Intern coordinator. I don't know.
There it is.
I think you guys were the first two interns that I had, and
wow.
I think, and which is obviously, as you guys know, having had interns yourselves now, it's like, oh gosh, I'm in charge of what these guys do today. That's a lot of pressure. I remember I think it was review sheets that you would hand me of just how'd they do, this week or this throughout the internship. And I was like, it's weird being on this side because I had, done my internships a couple of years prior. But yeah, that was where we all met way back when.
Way back. Yeah. So that kind of starts us off together. And then Coach Bergs has kind of been around a little bit, mostly at Ohio State, played hockey at Ohio State. I was looking you up and Iron Athlete.
Ohio State.
So how many games did you end up playing? 149? Was that the total that you had or no?
Oh gosh, I don't remember the exact total.
That's nuts.
I just tell people I didn't miss a game. That's kind of my one fun fact. I tell them it's really not worth looking at any other stats, but if you look at that one, I like that one. I was a role player, but I like to say I was good at being a role player. So
hell yeah,
not miss any games in hockey and to survive hockey career without injuries. I mean, that's kind of my fun fact.
That's huge. Yeah. That's super huge. Is there anything what was your secret sauce? You got any secrets to your reason why you never missed a game?
No, I've thought about that a lot because it's like things happen all the time in sports.
Yeah.
You get crushed into the boards, freak stuff all the time. And it's like, I think it was probably partially a little bit of luck, but I think it was also just growing up. I didn't weight train or anything, I was just an athlete. I'd go play tackle football with my brothers in the yard, neighbors, play every single sport under the sun till high school. And that's when I kind of chose hockey and soccer because of just logistics. You guys know how that rolls with so many schedules and stuff. But I do think being so versatile with what I was doing growing up, is in a way a form of training that prepares your body to be resilient. But I also think I was very dedicated in terms of utilizing the resources I had at Ohio State. I loved talking to my strength coach. I loved learning about what I need to put in my body, how much I need to sleep. And I think the combination of just taking care of all those factors obviously plays a big role in your ability to be healthy and push every single day. So, awesome. I wish I had some secret sauce recipe for everyone, but I think it's, like I said, some combination of luck, taking care of things, and diverse background growing up of just different stimuli and sports and experiences. So
that's well said, because we've talked about that in the past, and I've kind of piggybacked and talked to Dave about this before. I don't know what that looks like for a background in sport, and a lot of people say you should be playing different sports, and some people have just been strength training this whole time, and you're right. I don't think there is one way to do things. But you figured out a way. So congrats to you, and full circle for you, because now you're working with the women's hockey team at Ohio State, which is awesome, and men's soccer, two prominent programs. I know you also did the GA and you got your master's at Pitt, and that sounded pretty cool as well. And was that a little more sports science based, or was it exercise science? I know you've kind of talked to me a little bit about that before.
Yeah, so the program itself was sports science. So what they did with that sports science is, like I said, it was definitely a little bit more sciencey, technology type thing, because I was like, okay, what's a skill set that I want to kind of learn more about before I go into the working field? And I was like, I feel like from my internship experiences, I have a lot of experiences programming, weight training, but I was like, what's up and coming, what I need to learn more about? So it's I saw that, and there was two things I really loved about it. it was only a year. I was not super
Yeah.
interested in continuing to dive into the books all the time, research. Like, that's just not up my alley. I just want to coach.
Yeah.
I want to do what I love. But the secondary part about it that I really enjoyed is they paired you with a team for like a concurrent internship. So it's like I got paired with the women's soccer team, and I was basically, you can kind of do as little or as much as you wanted to with it. You could just check a box, but I basically was in charge of running all their catapult data. And so I taught myself how to use that. Basically, got to run that every single day, sync the reports, like all that. And I think I ended up doing my capstone project on analyzing some of their data from the catapult, which, like I said, I think helped me a lot because then it's like I came here and I already knew how to use it.
Yeah.
Without, like I said, having a full
that's
before.
cool.
So definitely enjoyed that experience a lot. But with that, I knew that, like I said, I wanted to learn more about the sports science, but I also didn't want to completely step out of the weight room setting. So I kind of volunteered to be an intern in the weight room as well. So it was like, yes, I have this sports science soccer piece, but it's like, I want to be in the weight room when soccer's in the weight room. And then like other time that I have, I want to work with other teams. But it was during COVID. So there was definitely times where it was like, hey, you can't cross paths with this many teams. Like, you got to get tested at the same time these teams are testing and different things like that. But like I said, I definitely enjoyed all the different experiences I had there.
Oh, that's fantastic. That sounds like that was a really great experience. And that, I think that kind of circles you into some of the things that you're working on now, right? I know that we've talked about you kind of were one of the speakers at Youngstown State, and you've talked about like load monitoring and tracking data and those kind of things. And I know we've got a ton of questions. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip now, Dave. Is there anything that you kind of wanted to talk about?
So I did this with our last guest. I kind of note take as you're talking because I tend to circle back to those things. I think there's more to unpack along the way. So
Absolutely.
in talking about like your athletic career, I heard you say, you know, hadn't missed a game. And I think as you were talking, I pulled a couple things out of that. Consistency is huge. We talk about that all the time. And in strength and conditioning, that's nothing new. And part of the fun of this pod is that I work with adult clients, which consistency is very super rare, absolutely rare. So consistency played a huge role in the success that you had. Physical literacy, which all three of us know parents aren't always the most ready to hear, right? Well, my kid needs to specialize at 5. They need to be elite at 5. Elite at 5. So physical literacy, exploring other sports played a role. And then resources. You said, you know, really capitalizing on the resources that your strength coach and the staff, you know, gave you. It takes a team, it takes a village. So those are 3, I think, great things that, you know, we talk about a lot, but it's awesome to hear someone that's been there, done that, and crushed at the highest level echo those things.
Yeah.
And one of the questions that Luke had, and I think Luke is the one that drafted it though,
for sure,
is when working in the setting that you do, at the level that you do, is it fair to say that your teams have other professionals, whether it be nutritionists, dietitians, physical therapists? I'm sure there is, you know, a whole team around, but what does the communication look like between you and all these other people that share the same goal from different fields and different perspectives? How much cooperation is there, or are they really siloed at that level?
Yeah, I would say we're very lucky at Ohio State where we are surrounded by professionals that are experts in their field. And like, I know that, like I said, a lot of other universities and settings don't always have that, but it's like I have an athletic trainer, I have a sports science department, I have a nutritionist, and then we have kind of some PT ATs that are like good for consulting with as well. They have multiple other teams, but all those pieces, like I said, are kind of available. And it's like I said, each team always has strength coach, athletic trainer, and then an assigned nutritionist. And then, like I said, the PTs are kind of, they're also athletic trainers, but they work with multiple teams. It's a unique setting from that standpoint. But to your point, like I said, we have all those resources. And like I said, it's not just, hey, someone who's never done this before. It's like they are an expert in the field. Like, they've worked to get to where they are. So like, that's awesome because it's like you can dive into what you're doing at the strength level, but when you, like we were talking about earlier, when you combine all these pieces together is kind of where the magic happens. So being able to collaborate at a super high level with athletic trainer, like sports science on a daily level, I think really allows us to dive in and give our athletes what they need on a daily basis. That's definitely been a
Absolutely.
part that has been really powerful, I think, about working at Ohio State, is being able to do things that you didn't think you could do by yourself with the help of people around you. But like I said, that's something where we are very blessed, where we have those resources and those people. But it does take a lot of communication because there's a lot of moving pieces. But like I said, it always ends up working out for the athlete to have all of us on the same page and working towards that common goal.
Seems rare to have
Yeah.
have all that support network in place, but great. I mean, that's epic.
awesome.
It's how every program I think should run, to have that many professionals there to support.
Yeah.
the teams.
I mean,
It's
no
awesome.
wonder there's so much success and there's like such a high standard at Ohio State. You know what I mean? You kind of
Yeah.
just keep those things together and keep pushing. That's awesome.
Some
But
other
yeah.
notes that I was taking along the way is you talked about looking at your master's program and what you wanted to study and lean into. And I think that perspective is, what do I need to learn more of, is what you said. That's a daunting framework, right? To say, I know what I'm good at, and boy, would it be easy to lean into that and further that knowledge. But to say, this area over here, what's up and coming, what am I not familiar with, what is the unknown, that may be valuable to me down the line, is a tricky thing to do. Where do you get a mindset like that?
Oh gosh, I mean, sometimes I wish I could ask myself in grad school to kind of revisit that mindset sometimes, because it's like, I think when you're that age, or at least when I was, it's like you're a go-getter. You're like trying to figure out, you're trying to think about not always what looks good on a resume, but you're like, how can I be well-rounded? How can I stand out? Whereas like that's kind of the mentality when you're, like I said, up and coming and trying to figure out how to stand out from the crowd. But I think it was also like, well, how can I prepare myself for success? You never know what's going to be thrown at you, but the more that you can learn in different areas that you aren't proficient in, like you said, I think it's only going to benefit you. And then once again, as Peter's talking about, like once you have interns or other people around you, you can share that skill set with them as well. So, but yeah, I just think it's always good to be constantly learning, trying, finding out new things. Like, because I think the biggest thing with that is like, you can learn about it and then you can be like, well, I never want to use this. But it's like,
Yeah.
you took the time, you learned why you didn't want to use it, and then never have to again. But if you never took the time to figure out why you did or didn't like it, or why you do or don't think it's beneficial, like you won't even, be at that point where you can make those decisions. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, never hurts to expand the skill set for sure.
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, diving into some of the questions
That's
that we
awesome.
had.
That's awesome.
Let's see. So one of the things you talked about, working with catapult data, and looking at sorting through and using that. One of the questions that we had thought of beforehand is, what do your assessments look like when you go into work with a team? Could be any team. Do the systems and assessments stay the same across teams, or do you bring different assessments to different populations? So I guess, what's your step one when going into work with a team?
Yeah, so I mean, anytime that I'm working with a new team or like a group of athletes, I usually try to do a couple things. I haven't done this in a while, so I'm glad we're bringing this up. Kind of a good refresher.
Yeah, there you
It'd
go.
always be like, go talk to the coaching staff, right? Like, what does the coaching staff want from their program? What are they looking for physically out of their team? And like, what are their wants and expectations from you as a strength coach? Because at the end of the day, like if you don't know that, you're kind of like in the dark, and you want to be able, obviously, you're not working for your head coach, but in a lot of ways you are. Like you want them to be happy with the product that you're delivering from the standpoint of, are your athletes physically ready? So I think sometimes certain assessments and things that you do could be dictated by something that the coach wants to see. But I also think when it comes to assessments and different things like that, the biggest thing I always tell people, whether it's coworkers, interns, is have a reason for what you're doing. Like you can assess the crap out of your athletes, but it's like, if you don't use any of that data, you don't keep track of it, like what are you actually doing? How are you monitoring your progress? How are you figuring out if this information is utilized or getting better on a year-to-year basis? So
yeah,
I would say there's some tests when we come in. Our sports science department, like I said, I could give them a million shout outs on this podcast, but they do help kind of put some of our athletes through technology testing. They do like a force frame and NORD board, a force plate test. It's part of a program called ramp testing that they do with every team. So basically the athletes will test all of that from that standpoint. But then a lot of assessments, different things like that, are individual based on the strength coach team. So it's like each strength coach might have a couple weight room tests that they find valuable, field tests, conditioning tests, whatever that might be. But I do think it varies drastically depending on the team. Like I personally don't do 1RM back squats with my hockey population, but that means like
There you go.
some people might do more of like a squat strength test, different things like that. But like I said, it really just kind of varies depending on the team. And I think sometimes it varies year to year. Maybe over time you realize that, like we were just talking about, this isn't giving me the data that I want. Like this isn't as valuable. So maybe I'm throwing something else at them. But like I said, I think assessments, like I said, making sure it aligns with what the coaching staff wants to see. But then also, is it giving you what you want to see and being able to track that over time? So
I love that. It's like ever evolving, right? Like I think that that's part of coaching too, and I think that that's really cool. The piece about the sports science department and how they end up facilitating a decent amount of kind of the testing and the things that you're looking for, or no?
yeah, I would say like anytime you're using some of the pieces of technology, whether it be like you want to use the 1080, you want to use like the lasers, different things like that, they have not only the people on the staff, but they have interns as well, who I said can kind of be hands for you. It's like if you're running a team of 30 through this, like maybe at the same time you want to be facilitating flow and different things like that, whereas they're on the machine actually running the test. So it's like just basically giving you extra eyes and hands to be more efficient with what you're doing with the testing, which has been great. But then they also provide a lot of guidance with data collection on the background and like, what does this mean? Like, how can we, I guess, understand and interpret this data?
Yeah,
So, like I said,
that's awesome.
they do so much for us, and it's very helpful to, like I said, be able to look at things at a high level.
Yeah, and I'm sure it helps you to kind of have that person help you talk about what this data shows, and it helps you communicate that to a coach too, right? So then like it maybe isn't just you saying that now, maybe it's also the sports science department is also saying this, and then maybe now the athletic training staff is also saying this, and you're all relaying kind of a similar message to that coaching staff. And that I can't even imagine what that help does for you. You know what I mean? Just looking, I'm thinking of this from like personally, like for me working with like Division 3 and like being kind of like a team of one, like I can't imagine like having just a little more help or just having one other person to say like, hey, we're also seeing this. You know what I mean?
For sure. We always talk about, like, as you were saying, like that collaboration, like being a united front amongst like your coworkers and the people. It's like that can be very powerful if you ever need to bring something up to the coaching staff or like you're ever working with an athlete, but all being aligned and on the same page, like I said, is a very powerful thing, like you said, which is why we always talk about how important like communication is and like having meetings, routine meetings and stuff like that. So you can just stay on the same page when there's so many moving pieces.
Yeah. You got anything for that, Dave?
In the same vein of going into work with a new team, one of the things Luke and I were curious about was kind of the assessment format. The other thing that we're curious about, and the context behind it, is me now working with adult Gen Pop clients. A lot of the planning is kind of forward and on, a week at a time, 2 weeks at a time, maybe 3 or 4 weeks if we're feeling real crazy. Strength and conditioning does not work that way, right? We usually, see the end goal and work back from it. It sounds like, because I've been practicing my active listening, if we talk to the coaching staff and hear what outcomes we want, and we're collecting data along the way, it would make sense that maybe we start with kind of the end of the season in mind and work backwards. ? Is that how you kind of framework it? Do you start at, here's where we are and here's how we build up? Or what's your mental framework when looking at a season and kind of unpacking it?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just getting organized, right? Like map out the schedule, map out games, map out important games, right? Not every game is going to be the exact same. Some games are going to be more of a must win. Some games are going to be like, okay, like we should be able to win this game even if maybe we don't have the best legs in the world. So like having those conversations right away is always important as well, just to like get context of like what weeks are important, what weeks are less important, because that's going to help you as a strength coach kind of start to fill in some of those blanks of your training. But I think, like I said, mapping out, hey, practices, games, off days, and then from there, it's kind of like you can get the plug and play with what you want to do physically, right? Because when it is in the sports season, like the sport is the priority, right? Like you're your lift isn't going to trump their game or something like that, which, like I said, there's like no, like, duh, but at the same time, like, having all that really just kind of helps you have a better foundation of like, where can I put my things in, where can I make an influence. So I think for me, like I said, I take the season and I kind of work backwards with the calendar, but then I kind of end up, I don't write my programming for playoffs before I write my programming for preseason, you know? So it's like I work backwards from like, I have the whole calendar for the season mapped out, but then it's like, I do kind of do it on like a, like a month by month basis of like, hey, here's my next phase. Once I get maybe halfway through that, I'm starting to think about the next one, different things I want to do from there, and then from there. So, but I mean, I'm always thinking about ideas. You know, you always kind of have the long-term game in mind of like, hey, I'm doing this exercise in preseason. Maybe my next phase is going to be this progression of it, this progression of this, like boom, boom, boom throughout the season. So it's like you always have those things in mind. But as you think about it, though, like, as a strength coach, you always do have to have a whiteboard mentality. Like, what if you think you have this great plan and your athletes come in and they're fried, or your plan doesn't get executed at the level that you want it to? So it's like, okay, scrap that new plan, which is why I don't always have a whole season written out just from the start. But always having ideas and then just tweaking those as you go, I think is very helpful.
Two things.
I just wrote down a ton of notes. Yeah, that was awesome.
That
was awesome.
I'll be quick then if you have notes down already.
No, good. Yeah.
Funny that you should mention progressions. Luke and I had an episode a while back where some coaches in this field.
Why that was funny.
Yeah.
Some coaches
knowledge there.
Some coaches believe simply in variety, no progressions or regressions. It's all just a spider web, just all moving out of just different exercises. I'm not here to slam any coach's perspective, but Luke and I can't speak for Luke. I thought that was a bit comical. I think everything should be based around progressions and regressions. My own opinion. Maybe Luke
we'll put that episode in the show notes about us talking about progressions or regressions, because it is funny to us because we talk about that kind of decently, and we kind of joke about it because to have, in my opinion, to not have regressions and progressions of exercises and thinking like you are, like thinking about what I'm going to be doing in the future. That's what I was writing down, was like the month by month, like I'm going to be using this exercise now. And then, like, what is my next step for this? Like, how am I going to keep progressing this to make the stimulus more, to change it? Am I going to be loading their back? Am I going to do single leg? You know, those kind of things. Like, what's the stimulus I want? And yeah, to just say that it's all one thing is kind of shit. But yeah, that's awesome. And I love the whiteboard mentality. I think a lot of those things, just with me having a lot of time at Donskoff, I think I've taken a lot of that experience and used that. And that was a lot of the things that we've done over the years there, was just having that, like, always thinking about the next step and not specifically having everything planned out like 6 months in advance, but having a good framework of things to understand where my next step's going to be. And it's got to be a calculated one, right?
Yeah, I think you always want your program before to lead into your next one, right? So it's like, how do I set, if you're doing split squat and then you want to move into like a reverse lunge or a rear foot elevated split squat, like you have to be proficient at split squat before you do a more complicated variation of that. And it's like the same thing. It's like, if you're not proficient at doing a split squat with a dumbbell, how are you supposed to do it with a bar for speed? You know, it's like you have to lay the foundation for what you're trying to do. So I think that plays into it a lot of the time too, of like setting yourself and your athletes up for success as you progress throughout the year.
Yeah. Go for it. Do you have something else, Luke? I was going to say, working with adult clients and youth athletes, the question I get a lot is, well, which one's harder? And it's like, oh, that question. I get that question.
Which exercise is harder? Yeah.
Which variation? If they see a kid do a kettlebell squat and they see a kid do a barbell, well, that's harder. I should do that. I should do that one because it's harder. And to your
point, you can make anything hard.
There it is.
I think I said that to Luke on a past episode. Like, if you want to make it hard, just hold your breath for an entire set. Don't actually do that. But like, you're making it harder. Are you making it harder for purpose? No. So like, what's the idea of just let's make it hard to make it hard? I cannot. But you see it a lot with both adult and youth clients or youth athletes of just, well, what's the harder way to do this? It's like, let's build on a solid foundation. Let's make sure we're, like you said, proficient in this exercise before we move on to the next one. And let's have a system here so we can all thrive. What else you got there, Luke?
Well, I think that kind of that piggybacks
questions.
into another exercise that would be, or another question about exercise. And this is kind of like looking at a different couple lenses, like either like the hockey lens and a soccer lens, or other sports that you've worked with. Like, what's 3 exercises, or give us a top 3 exercises that you would keep in for most of the populations that you work with.
Oh gosh, when I saw that question on there, I think that's the one that one, and then the 5-year NCAA one. I was like, wow, I could stare on these questions for hours. I'm just gonna kind of stick with my gut and how I feel about it. But
yeah,
I have 3 specific exercises, but this would be like, I guess, my big buckets. Like, I think you always need to do. I'm a huge advocate of unilateral work. Like,
yeah,
sports are not played on two limbs. It's like you're always going to have a leg where you're shooting off of a very more dominant foot. Like, I think every athlete should do unilateral work at some point.
absolutely.
And I think the second bucket I have with that is sport-specific injury preparation, right? It's like, shouldn't play hockey or like be training for hockey and never address like your hip flexors or like your groin. Like, that would just be naive. Like I said, it's not. I guess that depends on the population, like I said, that you're asking, but it's like, maybe if you're more of an adult client, it's like just working on general mobility, something that's going to make you feel better. It's like you should do something that's going to help with what your goal is, or just exercises that lead towards the goal or specific to the goal, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
I think the last one, this might be more of a hot take, but I think it's like sprinting, or like, it's like you see these videos on TikTok, and it's like, I think I saw one of these the other day, and it's like, it was like people at an office just messing around. Like, they're like, we never seen coworkers full on sprint. And you see these people that are probably anywhere from like 20 to 40. It's like, I don't think they've run that fast in years. It's like, it's one of those qualities where it's like, if you don't do it, you lose it. And it's like, why would you ever not have something like that in a program for elite level athletes? And it's like, for an adult, like, sure, maybe you don't need to be like sprinting to the point you're going to hurt yourself, but like, what's to be said you can't still do movements like that? Why not? It could be said for like, even just like jumping and different things like that. Like, sure, there's high risk reward depending on who you're working with. Like, I will be the first to say that. But why would you ever not do some sort of like high speed, like high CNS action? I don't know. I think, like I said, that's probably a hot take, but it's like,
no, that's awesome.
All my athletes will do some sort of sprint and excel work like once a week, all the time, like at least bare minimum. It's like, that will never not be a part of the program.
Luke, how do you feel about that? Because I know you like to have all clients, especially elderly clients, back squatting and sprinting. That is something Luke is well known for on these episodes. He leans into the risk reward. He says all risk, all reward.
Let's full of hot takes. That's me. The whole podcast is just me saying crazy shit, and then we just clip it and try to get views.
It's working so far.
Here we are. Now you're on the podcast, so I guess something happened. We've been doing
I think those are good picks. I think those are good picks. So unilateral work, some kind of prehab mobility
specific
drill.
Prep. I like
specific
that.
prep.
Yeah.
Like, essentially, I think of that as like, hey, what are my most common injuries in hockey and soccer? And
exactly.
like, I address those specific areas in my program. So it's like, same thing if like I said, if you're working with a different sport, what are those injuries? If you're working with an adult client, what is their past like? Do they have specific injuries or issues they've had in the past? Like, how are you addressing those? So that's kind of what I think of it. It's like, why would you ever not have that in your program if you're trying to perform or feel good at a high level?
And then something ballistic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we still do that. Like, I still do that with all my adult clients, whether it may not be sprinting, but it might be some type of jump variation, some type of medicine ball throw variation, right? Because it's something that is getting them to a place that they don't do on their own, right? And they're losing that quality that they're not doing. So, like, if they were going out to play pickleball, right, and then they haven't been doing anything like that, that's where you see some of these old people with like Achilles and like hips and different things going on, just because it's a type of training that they haven't done in 30 or 40 years. You know what I mean? So
you take one swing and like,
you seen like the cookout, like sprints, like the family gets together trying to see who's the fastest, and it's like 5 of them pull their hamstrings or triple
torn hammies everywhere.
Yeah, and it's like, man, I really hope that's like that will never be me. Like, I think of those things when I'm training all the time. I'm like, that's not going to be me. I'm going to be training for the rest of my life like that. So running, jumping, sprinting, throwing things, you know.
To your point, though.
To that, like I said, sprinting, obviously, you probably don't need to sprint all the time as an adult, but I do think it's like you should be able to do, like you said, more of like a fast-paced movement to what you're trying to do. Like if it is you're trying to play pickleball, then it's like you probably better have some ballistic rotational work in your program, so it's not like I said, you go swing for the first time and your entire back cracks or you spaz. You know, it's like you should have essentially be preparing yourself for whatever it's like the fastest, most athletic movement you're going to be doing.
Exactly. Well, and I also think of like like elderly clients. I have a couple now. It's just crazy. I have a couple in their 80s and one that's
all
90.
back squatting.
And yes, but also it's think about like them like trying to catch themselves when they fall, right? So like grip strength is important, but also their ability to like absorb their force, absorb gravity, like have their knees absorb that, have their ankles, their hips, like being able to do like a snap down or a jump, like that stuff is like super important to their quality of life, you know? But I guess it's a little tangent there. So yeah, that was awesome. Dave, you got anything else?
You're having all your elderly people flip tires too.
Do you remember this? Here's a big throwback for us. This was one of my big internship questions when we were both interning at Donskoff. Dave never lets me forget this. When this was one of our nights, you know, they would always ask us like, all right, you got any questions? And then they give you a hard time if you don't have any questions. And
it's your hour, Luke. Make it count. It's your hour. It's your time. You're up.
Here you go. Yeah, I definitely remember being straight from football and being like, yeah, so where are all the tires and the sleds and where's all the sledgehammers at? And like, you guys gave me such a hard time for that. I still don't live it down. So here we are.
Just like a weighted blanket of silence falls on the room, and me and Tony and Mike just look at each other like, you want to tell him? No, Anth's gonna. All right.
That's right. You made me ask Anth that. I forgot about that. You made me wait till Friday when we met as a staff just to make me.
Like, you need to go over to Westside Barbell if you're going to do that. Don't ask me that question.
Oh God.
I don't know if you also wanted to tell the story of Jeopardy. We can clip it out if you don't want to share it. But
yeah,
Luke and I have joked around, I think once or twice on the podcast, of intern Jeopardy. It was me against the other intern when I was there, and you guys faced each other. And yeah, it's kind of an initiation thing, I suppose. And for those that are listening, I don't know if we've ever recounted the story, certainly not with all parties here. But it was a bloodbath. It was brutal. I mean, if you're watching House of the Dragon, you could equate it to the first episode of season 3. It was just so tough to watch. If you know, you know. But it was an entire landslide. I think Luke got on the board with a point or two, but aside from that, it was
a pity
merciless.
Point. I'm pretty sure. I don't think I got the question right, but
I think it was like a 2 out of 3 thing.
I really don't even remember. Like,
so was it on?
Yeah, I actually don't remember.
I believe there was programming. I think it was like exercise selection was one column. I think anatomy was one column.
Anatomy was.
I remember company history was one of them because
company history.
Myself and the other intern, the question came up, what is the name? What is the, web address? What is the phone number? What is the mission statement? Like, if, these are all the questions. And me and the other intern were like, what's our website? And our boss was like, if someone asks you where you work, you can't even point them to the website. We were like, I guess not. We'll do better next time.
How crazy.
Right? Ooh, so that was a lesson for me. But yes, Jeopardy was great. It was great. It, to this day, is one of my favorite stories. And I thank you, Bergs, for delivering.
Well, and this circles back to her being super competitive and like just really, this was the first time in my life where I was like, I really need to get my shit together. Like this was like I'm in college, I'm super new to like being a professional, and it was like, oh shit, like there's a different level to being like working hard and like being better than everyone and having like that level of competition. I respect Bergs a lot after that, and especially now as we've been friends for a little longer now, and I really appreciate you doing this. I know maybe like 1 or 2 questions and then just kind of wrap it up. Are you cool with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if it makes you feel better, I was always told that Luke was better at relating to the athletes and clients, and I was just flaw. So I might win Jeopardy, but my athletes might hate me sometimes. So
Oh shit.
I will say what I appreciated about both of your approaches is that I think you guys complement each other's in a lot of ways. In that no one, one person may write a great program and another person may relate well, and both are vital to the art of coaching, right? Because clients need to feel related too, but at the same time they're also there to see results. So I think it was a great, fortunate thing in that both of you guys were so different to be able to be like, I see what he did. I see how she prepped and I didn't. That hurts. So I think there was a silver lining to it in that way. Yeah.
No, it helped me a lot. I think about that internship a lot through my last 10 years in this business, and it's been great. And definitely thinking about staffs, right? Thinking about whether you're hiring somebody or you're trying to create a cohesive team. You don't want to have 10 people that are just like you, right? You want to have people that have different backgrounds, different experiences, somebody that can dive into more of the ins and outs, and somebody that can maybe be a little more personable, or somebody that can really get on guys, somebody that's going to be kind of like the dick, somebody that, it just kind of depends on you need to have a little bit of everything to kind of get what's best for the athlete, what's best for the client, you know what I mean? But
it takes a well-rounded team.
Yeah.
What other questions you got here, Luke? Did you have something in mind?
I guess let's stay away from the NCAA rule one, because I'm sure that's a can of worms, and that just happened with the 5-year rule, and I'm sure hockey doesn't even know what they're going to do yet, right?
Well, I thought about it a little bit, and I think I was thinking about it more from a strength coach perspective than anything. It's it kind of, from a weight room standpoint, it doesn't change all that much. It's now you just kind of have 5 years with people instead of 4, if they choose that, so it's okay, you actually have more time to develop them, I guess. But
yeah,
I think it's more going to affect, obviously, with the sport coaches and their decisions with, scholarships and when you're, I think it's a lot more from a coaching staff standpoint that's going to be more confusing. But I think as a strength coach, the only thing I could really think of was I think more of developmental level. If you no longer have a redshirt freshman, does that look different of maybe I can't, or I choose not to train them as hard on a game day because they could play if they wanted to, whereas in the past, sometimes I've had red shirts more so with soccer than hockey, where it's they actually can't play in a game or they would ruin their red shirt. So it's well, I feel pretty good about actually kicking their butt in the weight room on a game day.
Yeah.
No worries here. Whereas it's like I said,
that's interesting.
If there is a freshman, there's some small chance they might play. Maybe that looks a little different. But I think overall, as a strength coach, it's I kind of feel I've had people here for 5 years, the last couple of years, anyways. The COVID years. So it's I don't know how different
that's a great point.
It's going to be from a strength standpoint. It's
kind
of just your goal as a strength coach, right, is to develop them as athletes and humans over their time. And it's if it's 4 years versus 5, so be it. It's more time to prepare them for whatever's next. But I do think there will be a lot of things that look different, but I think as a strength coach, the goals stay the same,
Yeah. Yeah, so the new rule, if I'm not mistaken, should be when you turn 19, you have 5 years from that standpoint to get through your collegiate NCAA playing career. That's the new rule, right? Or am I missing something?
Oh gosh, I'll be the first to admit, probably not as well versed in this as I should be.
Yeah, but I think it's something like that. You're now kind of tied to this time. You can't there's not going to be any 28-year-olds anymore. There's not going to be vice versa. I think you're kind of fixed into the time that now when you start, you got your 5 years and that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dave, you got anything on that?
No, that was more your wheelhouse. I remember you were filling me in about it because I was I don't know about this.
It's pretty, yeah. I mean, I know with definitely Division I, I think it's kind of funny because Ohio State's kind of I'm not going to leave Ohio State. If I could stay there for 5 years, I'm probably going to stay at Ohio State for 5 years. So it's that's kind of cool for you. So potentially you could have another year of development with the athletes and getting to know them and stuff. So that'd be great. I know for me, like even at like the D3 level, we're kind of like a building program. So like we've had a lot of transfers in and out and different things. So it's been interesting to see like, okay, is this going to change what like our team landscape looks like in the off season this year? You know, that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's all kind of hearsay. So
one last question, if you don't mind, Bergs, to your interns, to upcoming coaches, whether it's, you know, Gen Pop or on the strength and conditioning side of things, what's one or two things you would tell them as they're coming up? Younger coaches, what's your advice to them? What's your thoughts?
Oh, younger coaches. I think it would be two things. I think it would just be like, come ready to work and be open-minded, right? I think those are always going to be like the best interns are the people that like you don't have to worry about their work ethic. Like you don't have to worry about them wanting or trying to do the right thing at all times. And I think the secondary part of that is like as an intern, you're not expected to know everything, right? But it's like if you're running 100 miles per hour in the wrong direction, at least you're doing it at top speed and like desire to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and like,
yeah.
One thing to like, oh, I don't want to coach. I'm scared. Like I'd rather have an intern like me have to tell them like, no, you did that wrong, rather than, hey, can you use your voice? You know, it's like stuff like that I think are some of the biggest things. But I think always just learning and being curious. You know, it's like what we were talking about earlier. It's like you don't know what you don't know. And it's like, but you have to also put in the effort to ask questions and do research reading on your own. You know, you don't always have to wait for your intern supervisor to tell you to read this. Like, how about you go find something, you read it at night, like on your own. So I think, like I said, it's kind of more of the intangibles than anything else. It's like, you don't have to be the smartest intern on the planet. Like, you just have to have a desire to work and a desire to get better. And like, you can do a lot with those things that other people can't, that maybe have more knowledge or better resume than you do, you know? So I'm always going to be an advocate of blue collars, but I do think like those things in the workforce, like, are you willing to go like the extra mile, you know? So I think as an intern, that's always just been my thing. Like, come in here, learn, like, be humbled, but like, come in here the next day. If you have a bad day, you walk right in the next day with the same attitude and effort. You know, it's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, like, but sometimes those moments where you get cast off the deep end and you mess up is like actually where you learn the most. So
true,
man. That was awesome. That's a clip right there. That's probably like the keynote clip for this podcast. That was badass.
Oh yeah,
and you're hearing it from the top. You know, can't really get any higher than where you are. And I really appreciate you kind of taking the time and doing this with us. And it's really been an honor. It's awesome to kind of have this come full circle for, you know, me and Dave. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been a lot of fun. I was thinking about a lot of old Don Scoff moments like before this, and I was like, this just feels like so long ago. It's like, it's so crazy to me.
Yeah. It feels like forever ago. It does.
I mean, anything pre-COVID feels like history.
Yeah. Really does at this point.
I'm at the age now. Yeah. Oh, sorry. This is funny. I just think that like now a lot of the kids are like, "Oh, coach, how old are you? Like, what year were you born?" I don't know if you get this now, Bergs, but I'm like, "Yeah, I was born in '97." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, coach, you're ancient." Uncle, like Coach Unk. That's what I get now. I'm like, holy hell, guys! Like, come on. Like, but that's awesome.
No, I think for me, it's like when you're putting in like birthdays or something in the system, and it's like 2005, and you're like, oh, like, oh god, you know, like, no,
man,
like,
that is where we are. That's crazy.
Little jump scares like that. Because it's like, I feel like when you first start in your career, it's like you are close in age to like some of the collegiate athletes, but now it's like incoming freshmen. It's like I'm about to be like 10 whole years older than them. Like we are like completely different now. Like, like there's no like we're close in age anymore. It's like, wow, there's a gap.
Yeah. Man, well, that's awesome. Is there anywhere where people could find you on social media, or if they wanted to reach out to you somehow? If you want to share anything, go for it. If not, we'll just run it.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely tag Instagram, different things like that. Otherwise, that's probably the best way to reach me if you, like I said, if you haven't reached me before. But
there you go.
Yeah, that would probably be the best way.
That's awesome. Well, thanks again for this. Dave, you got anything else?
All good.
I appreciate you. So how we end the session, we always do a closeout just like we started with the clap. So I'll count us down and we'll get out of here. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Oh boy. When you hear 3 different claps, you know it didn't go well.
Closer than the start. Closer than the start. It's progression.
All right. See you guys. Take care.